today we are going to dive into your descriptions, your categories, and your attributes, and we are going to show you what you are missing and why you are not getting traffic on Etsy. Before we get started, please comment below if you use ChatGPT for your descriptions. Now, when it comes to descriptions, categories, and attributes, most of you are only thinking about the first one, descriptions. And from what I've heard, a lot of you just get exhausted by the time that you figure out your title and your description, that you are just clicking buttons to get to the end. And you think, I'll go back and fix it later, but I just want to get this listing published. That is part of the problem. The same effort should go into the rest of your listing as the effort that you put into the top of the listing. All of these elements of a listing are really essential to do correctly. Now let's begin with descriptions. My biggest recommendation for your descriptions is to not rely on ChatGPT to make those descriptions for you. In our program, we give you a framework for really high converting descriptions. The main point here, whether you have a framework or not, is to not just take the default descriptions that you get from Printify or whatever print-on-demand provider you're using, and to not just copy and paste whatever ChatGPT spits out, because we don't want something that is unnaturally stuffed with flowery, complicated keywords. So a description for Etsy is not like writing an SEO optimized blog article. A description is actually a sales pitch, and it needs to have everything in it that would convert someone, leaving no questions unanswered. Etsy states that keywords and phrases in the description matter. And just like the rest of your SEO, we want to make sure these are long tail keywords. Aim to incorporate relevant keywords in the first few sentences of your listing descriptions. Avoid copying your title verbatim or simply listing your top keywords. Instead, you want to craft a sentence or two that casually incorporates a few of your top keywords in a way that sounds human and written in your brand's voice. They also recommend in one of their trainings to create an inverted pyramid. This means having all the most important information at the top of your listing. And they say that this part impacts your SEO the most. They also say to cut out superfluous language and make good use of bullet points. They also say to maintain a consistent brand voice, which is why precisely I do not recommend just taking whatever ChatGPT spits out, because it is very obvious and there are telltale signs that something is written by AI. And they specifically say to paste Etsy URLs in your descriptions so that they function as hyperlinks. Now let's talk about attributes. 50% or more of the Etsy sellers that I have met do not know what to use attributes for, and maybe they're not using them at all. But you guys, this is free SEO juice. Now, attributes are not tags because they're very specific to the category. So whatever category you select will determine what attributes are available to choose from. Now, this is going to be helpful when Etsy customers are searching through filters on your search results. So basically, anything that has a filter that can be tied to your category or attribute. Etsy's senior manager of their taxonomy team, she says attributes are like free super tags. They also say that they are continually adding new attributes across categories to help items appear very relevant in searches. Most categories will allow attributes for color, holiday, and occasion, but beyond that, there are additional attributes that are very specific to a category. And this is exactly why you need to make sure you're choosing the right category first. Now, Etsy will give you some very irrelevant options for attributes, and you want to make sure you are not selecting those because it will kill your conversion rate. And if you're not currently seeing attribute options within the category you've selected, don't worry. 51% of categories on Etsy have at least one category-specific attribute, but new attributes are always being researched and added in. So here's an example. A seller might choose to list their item in the oil painting category. She then sees attribute options for things like orientation and subject matter. Another example, seller lists her designs in engagement rings. She might see options for attributes like ring size, gemstone, and setting. Or someone lists a vintage dress in dresses, and she sees options for attributes including material and style. All right, now let's wrap this up with categories. So we know attributes are important, but categories determine which attributes you can even get. Now, categories, Etsy says, also act like tags. And they say make sure to select the most specific subcategory available that relates to your listing, because even if you choose a subcategory, you will still fall under the umbrella of the higher level category. And they also remind us that since categories act like tags, you do not have to have the same word in your tags that the category is named. named. So for example, if you have a listing in the nail stencils category, your listings could appear in search results for nail stencils. And that means that, let's say nail stencils is a subcategory within craft supplies, then your listing will also appear in craft supplies. So what is your homework now? What do you do based on all this information? Number one, go into your descriptions. Clean up the ChatGPT. Get a framework. We teach our students a very high converting description framework, but whatever you do not just copy and paste whatever ChatGPT spits out. Make sure the most important keywords and information are at the very top, and remove any hints of those telltale ChatGPT signs. Next, you're going to add attributes wherever possible and remove any irrelevant attributes that you might have accidentally added, because that is hurting your conversion rate, which then hurts your ranking. Remember, you're not repeating your main category names as tags. You're already covered there. And make sure that you are always going down to a subcategory if the subcategory is relevant. So this is a good time to review all of your listings and make all of these updates. If you have any questions, or if you're curious about our framework for high converting listings, just feel free to reach out to us and we're happy to share more about what that looks like. All right, we will see you in the next video.
The month before I started the program, I made $696. The first month after joining the coaching program, I made $4,149, and that came from 133 orders in my Etsy shop.